The morning unfolded like any other. Cars passing, distant conversations, the usual rhythm of the neighborhood. Then came the sirens. Flashing lights fractured across windows as officers moved with quiet urgency, knocking on doors and speaking in hushed tones. Stepping outside, you felt the weight of silent judgment before a single word was spoken. The officer's gaze was unreadable, his stance deliberate. "We need to ask you some questions." The accusations that followed weren't reckless or desperate. They were calculated. You don't even need to hear the full details to know this is a setup, a carefully planted lie, not just to target you, to destroy you. Around you, the neighborhood reacts. Some pretend not to look, but you feel their stares lingering just a second too long. Others step back, pulling their children inside as if your very presence is a danger. Conversations cut short the moment you're near. They've already decided. Not based on proof, not based on reason, on whispers. This isn't an accusation, it's an execution. You look at the officers, scanning their expressions, their posture. Some of them know. They've done this long enough to recognize a frame job when they see one. But none of that matters right now. The moment the words were spoken against you, a machine was set in motion. An investigation. An entire community forced into fear and suspicion. A story written before you ever got to speak. And that's the point. You were never meant to defend yourself. You were meant to fall. But the ones who orchestrated this, who hid behind anonymous reports and false statements, they made a mistake. They underestimated who they were dealing with. And they forgot one thing. Lies spread fast. But truth? Truth has a way of breaking through when no one expects it. You see it. The way doors shut a second too fast when you walk by. The way familiar faces turn away, pretending not to notice you, as if looking in your direction might make them guilty by association. You hear it. The sharp pauses in conversations, the whispers exchanged when they think you're out of earshot. Their voices are low, but the weight of their words lingers. Their fear is loud. It doesn't matter that the accusations are absurd, that the claims against you don't hold up under the smallest bit of scrutiny, that no one can say with certainty what exactly you're supposed to have done. It doesn't matter. A lie doesn't need proof. It just needs believers. And right now, they believe. You walk past a group of neighbors, the same ones who used to nod in polite acknowledgement. This time, they stiffen. A mother pulls her child behind her, as if your presence alone is something to be shielded from. A subtle movement. A small act of rejection. But it hits like a knife. You were supposed to be safe here. Instead, your home has become a silent battlefield. The walls of your own neighborhood closing in around you, pressing down with every stolen glance and hushed conversation. You are not the only target. You see the cracks forming, spreading beyond you. People who once stood side by side now eye each other with suspicion. Who knew? Who believed it first? Who spread it? The seeds of doubt are blooming into a full-blown sickness, and that was the goal all along. This isn't just about you, this is about control. Someone wanted you cut off. Someone wanted you alone, defenseless. They thought fear would do the work for them. They thought the weight of the accusation would be enough to bury you. They were wrong. Because while they watch from the shadows, waiting for you to break, you're watching too, taking note of the ones who turn their backs, and the ones who hesitate. Because if a lie can spread this fast, so can the truth, and you're still standing. For now, that's enough. You always knew something was off. The smiles were too practiced, the handshakes too measured, the sense of community always just an illusion waiting for the right moment to shatter. And now, that moment has come. The accusations against you should have been a test of loyalty, a chance for them to stand together, to protect their own. Instead, they've turned on each other. It started small, side glances, hushed murmurs, tense conversations behind closed doors. You weren't the only one being watched anymore. You see it when neighbors exchange clipped words before parting ways. You hear it in the sharp tone of a shopkeeper questioning why someone suddenly stopped coming around. They don't trust each other, because if a lie could be crafted so easily about you, what's stopping another from forming about them? The unity they once boasted about is peeling away, exposing something rotten underneath. Grudges, once buried, have surfaced. The woman who swore loyalty to her best friend now questions whether she was the one who started the rumors. The man who defended his neighbor last week suddenly wants to know what he might be hiding. It's chaos disguised as order. They thought casting you out would bring them peace, that making you the villain would cleanse them of their own sins. But they've miscalculated, because the same fear that turned them against you is turning them against each other. The ones who stood at the center of the rumors, the ones who whispered first, now they're the ones under scrutiny. And it's only a matter of time before they start devouring their own. You watch, unnoticed, as their false alliances collapse, as their carefully crafted stories begin to contradict each other. You don't have to do anything. They are unraveling on their own. And the ones who set the fire, they are standing in the middle of the flames. They thought they had you cornered. They planned every move, crafted every lie, spread every whisper. They thought it would be enough. But something they never accounted for is working against them. You feel it. A force moving in ways unseen, shifting the tides before they can drown you. A witness steps forward, ready to testify against you until their words falter, their confidence wavers, and suddenly they're stammering, retracting, claiming they must have been mistaken. They weren't mistaken. They were blocked. Something is interfering, something beyond their control. Evidence, documents, messages, recordings, disappears without explanation. The files that once painted you as guilty now hold gaps, inconsistencies, missing pieces that no one can explain. The case against you isn't just crumbling, it's being erased. The officers who once looked at you with suspicion now exchange glances, questioning everything they were so sure of. The cracks in their confidence widen as the foundation of their accusations starts to collapse. You remain untouched, not because you ran, not because you pleaded, not because you fought, but because they never had the power to destroy you in the first place. Their weapons were forged in deception, their plans built on sand, and no weapon formed against you prospers. Not when you are protected, not when divine hands move in silence, shifting the pieces before they can ever fall against you. They thought they were in control. They thought they dictated your fate. But now, as the weight of their own lies starts crushing them, as they scramble to explain why nothing is going according to plan, they understand the truth. You were never alone in this, and they never had a chance. Stop right there. Yes, you. Not everyone will feel this. And if that's the case, keep it moving. No hard feelings. But if something in your spirit just locked in, if you feel this in your gut, in your soul, then you already know this message is meant for you, the outliers, the ones who see through the illusion, the ones who've been told to sit down, to fall in line, to be like everyone else, but never could. You don't follow trends. You don't ask for permission. You walk through life like a storm, untouchable, unshaken, undeniable. While the world chases its tail, you carve your own path, alone if you have to, not for approval, not for applause, but because it's simply who you are. You take what was meant to break you and forge something divine. You carry wisdom that can't be taught, only lived. If this speaks to you, then maybe it's time you found your people, the Obsidian Inner Order, the #1 Ascension Nexus for Chosen Ones. Over 400 of us, gathering, sharpening, evolving. No masks, no illusions, just raw, unfiltered truth. The link is in the description. If you're ready, you'll know where to find us. If not, that's fine too. Some doors aren't for everyone. You were never meant to see this. The lies were supposed to be airtight, The accusations designed to stick, to leave a stain on your name that could never be washed away. But they got careless. A slip, a missing detail, a connection they never expected you to find. And now it's unraveling. You dig deeper, not out of desperation, but out of certainty. You know there's something there. You know this wasn't random, and as you peel back the layers, the truth begins to reveal itself. Documents surface. Reports contradict themselves. Signatures appear on papers they never thought you'd lay eyes on. The evidence doesn't just point to one person, it points to a network. This wasn't a mistake. It wasn't just gossip or paranoia. This was a plan. Someone orchestrated this, pulling strings from the shadows, twisting truths into daggers aimed at your back. But they miscalculated, because now those same threads they used to weave this lie, they're strangling them. Their own words are turning against them, their own signatures sealing their fate. The whispers they used to destroy you now echo back at them, louder, sharper, impossible to ignore. You don't have to expose them. They're exposing themselves, one by one. The ones who spoke the loudest are suddenly silent. The ones who accused you without hesitation now scramble for explanations. And the ones who thought they were safe behind the curtain, their time is running out. Because the truth is a force they never accounted for. And it's coming for them. You expected the silence. You expected the stares, the hesitation, the ones who once called you a friend shrinking into the shadows. But you didn't expect this. A knock at your door, not from an officer, not from an accuser, but from someone who shouldn't care. A store owner. A quiet, unassuming figure who has never spoken more than a few words to you before. But today, they bring something different. Footage. Undeniable proof. A timestamp that shatters the carefully crafted lie. They hand it to you without ceremony, their eyes wary, their voice measured. I don't want trouble, but I know what's right. And just like that, the first crack in their scheme deepens. More follow. An officer, one who had once looked at you with suspicion, starts asking the wrong questions, not to you, but to them. Why did the witnesses change their stories? Why is key evidence missing? Why does every path lead to the same names? Doubt spreads, swift and unrelenting. Some step forward because they believe in truth. Others do it because they've sensed the shift, the inevitable collapse, and they refuse to be caught in the wreckage. They see it now. This was never about you. It was about control, power, keeping certain truths buried while feeding the public a convenient lie. But the lie is dying. And the ones who helped build it, they are starting to run. You don't need to chase them. You don't need to plead your case. The truth is moving on its own. And the unexpected voices speaking in your defense, they are the final nail in the coffin, because when even strangers start siding with you, it's over for the ones who tried to bury you. You feel the tension before you step inside. They're waiting for you, not to listen, not to understand, to watch you break, but you don't. You stand, steady, unshaken, while the storm rages around you. Shouts ring out. Accusations spit from familiar mouths. They speak your name like it's a curse, like it carries the weight of everything wrong in their world. Lies layered on top of lies. Then, a mistake. One of them, too caught up in their own venom, speaks without thinking. A contradiction, a detail that doesn't match the story they told before. A hush ripples through the room. It happens fast. A shifting of weight. A flicker of uncertainty in the eyes of those who were so sure, because now the cracks are visible. The story they built, so carefully designed to destroy you, is starting to betray them. You don't say a word. You don't have to. The silence is heavier than any defense you could have given. The weight of the lie presses down on them now, suffocating, inescapable. They try to recover, to double down, to steer the conversation back into the chaos where deception thrives. But it's too late. Doubt has already sunk its claws into the crowd. People start whispering, not about you, but about them. The same voices that accused you now murmur amongst themselves, wondering what else was fabricated. The power shifts. The ones who threw the first stone now find themselves backed into a corner, their own words becoming the evidence that condemns them. You watch it all unfold, not with anger, not with fear, with certainty, because you knew from the beginning. The truth always finds a way through, and tonight it just slipped through the cracks. You notice it immediately, the way the officers move, their eyes no longer locked onto you, but scanning the faces of those who once spoke with certainty. The tone of their questions, less about you, more about them. The shift is undeniable. The lie that once carried weight now feels weightless. The accusations, once delivered with conviction, now sound rehearsed, shaky, inconsistent, and they know it. The ones who led the charge against you are restless, uneasy. The same voices that declared your guilt without hesitation now crack under pressure. Because the eyes that once condemned you, they are now watching them. A police officer clears his throat. Can you clarify your previous statement? A simple question. But the room stiffens. Someone shifts in their seat. Another glances toward the exit. A bead of sweat forms on a forehead that was dry just moments ago. They're losing control, and it's eating them alive. They try to redirect, to pull the attention back to you, but the words don't land the way they used to. The spell they cast over the crowd is breaking, and they can feel it slipping through their fingers. The ones who confidently accused you now fumble for explanations. Their contradictions are exposed. Their alliances are crumbling. Fear replaces arrogance. You can see it in their eyes. The sudden realization that the same system they weaponized against you is turning on them. You don't move. You don't speak. You let the weight of their own lies crush them, because the tide has turned, and there's no escaping it now. You were never the target. You were the diversion. The accusations, the whispers, the perfectly timed lies, it was all a smokescreen. A way to keep eyes on you while they moved in the shadows, hiding something far worse, and it almost worked. Almost. But now, the investigation stretches beyond you. The questions dig deeper. Officers no longer focus on proving your guilt. They're looking for the why. And the why is unraveling fast. Records surface. Bank statements that don't add up. Contracts that lead to names no one was supposed to see. And buried beneath it all, the real crime. Not just a personal vendetta against you. Not just petty jealousy or blind malice. Something bigger. Something that needed to stay hidden. They thought they could bury it under your name. Thought they could throw you into the fire while they slipped away unnoticed. They are the ones under the microscope. Their panic is no longer about you. It's about survival. Because the deeper the officers dig, the clearer it becomes. This was never about justice. It was about protection. Not yours. Theirs. They tried to erase you, to sacrifice you to protect their empire. But all they did was expose themselves. There's nowhere left to hide, because the light is coming, and it's about to burn everything down. They thought they were righteous. They thought they were safe. When they turned against you, it was easy. No hesitation, no second-guessing. They believed what they were told, because believing meant they didn't have to think. But now they're thinking, and it's destroying them. You see it in their faces, the realization sinking in, slow and suffocating. They weren't just bystanders, they were accomplices. They helped build the fire meant to burn you. They stand in the ashes, choking on the smoke of their own betrayal. Because this isn't just about you anymore. This is about them, about how easily they were led, how quickly they turned, how blindly they followed, never once questioning why. They can't ignore it. The corruption they pretended not to see, the power games they laughed off, the lies they repeated without thought. It's all out in the open. No one is safe from the wreckage. Not the ones who spread the rumors. Not the ones who stood silent, not even the ones who thought they had nothing to do with it. Their world is collapsing. The structure they upheld, the one that fed on deceit and manipulation, is falling apart under its own weight. You don't have to say a word. They know what they did, and they know there is no going back. You warned them. Not with words, not with threats, with silence, with the unshaken certainty of someone who knew how this would end. And now it has. They sit in cold rooms under sterile lights, hands folded, eyes darting, their confidence gone. The ones who once spoke with fire, who painted you as the villain, now stammer under the weight of their own words. Every accusation they hurled at you, it's being thrown back at them. The legal walls close in first, lies contradicted, motives exposed. Officers who once looked at you with suspicion now glare at them. But the true reckoning? It's not just happening in the system, it's happening in the unseen. They feel it. The weight, the shift, the cold emptiness where their false power once stood. The divine scales have tipped, and what they sent out is returning, faster, sharper, merciless. And there's no escaping it. They built their foundation on deceit, convinced there would be no cost. But now they're paying. You see it in their faces. The slow, creeping horror as they realize this isn't just about evidence, about cases, about earthly consequences. This is something greater, something irreversible. They tried to destroy a chosen one. They're watching the price be collected. You warned them through your presence, through your resilience, through the silence they mistook for submission. They thought they were architects of your downfall, but all they built was a trap for themselves. You walk away untouched. Their empire crumbles in slow motion, collapsing under the weight of its own corruption. What once stood as an impenetrable force, whispers, deception, control, now lies in ruin. The very people who turned against you now turn on each other, scavenging for an escape, desperate to rewrite their roles in the story. But the ink is dry. The false accusations that were meant to bury you have buried them instead. The power they wielded was borrowed, stolen from the fears of those too weak to question, and now that fear has shifted. Now they are the ones being watched, scrutinized, exposed. They expected you to beg, they expected you to break. Instead, you rise, more powerful, more untouchable, more feared than ever before. Because you are not like them. You never were. They operate in shadows, their strength dependent on secrecy, manipulation, illusion. Your strength is undeniable, unshaken, an unrelenting force that bends reality itself. And now they know. Let them talk, let them whisper. Every word is a reminder of what they failed to do. Every glance cast your way is a quiet confession of fear, of regret, of the realization that they moved against something far beyond their comprehension. You remain. The dust settles, but nothing is the same. Relationships lie in ruins. Businesses close their doors. Names that once commanded respect are now spoken in hushed tones, drenched in disgrace. The community that turned against you is forced to reckon with what they allowed, what they participated in, what they destroyed. You move forward, unbothered, unshaken, a force they could never contain. Let them watch, let them wonder. They know who you are now. Share your thoughts. How did they react? When they realized they couldn't break you, let them know the chosen ones don't fall.